welcome into another episode of the KC Sports Authority podcast. I am your host, Keegan Russell. As a reminder, you can find our podcast both on YouTube and on Spotify. Be sure you hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a future episode. You can also give us a follow over on Twitter at KCSA Pod and like and follow us on Facebook at KC Sports Authority. All right, Jayhawk fans, we have a very special episode in store for you today. For the first time ever on the podcast, I had a chance to sit down with a former KU athlete. And let me tell you, this guy is a true ambassador of the KU football program and the university. He's an extremely high character, well-spoken individual, as you will hear, and all-around terrific human being. So without further ado, here is my conversation with now former KU football defensive tackle and the 2022-2023 senior team captain, Sam Burt. I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, Jayhawk fans, it is a pleasure to have now former Jayhawk defensive tackle Sam Burt on the podcast with me today. Sam, thank you so much for joining me here today and hopping on. How you doing?
Great. It's a pleasure to be here. Excited.
Well, let's get going. So obviously you have been around Lawrence for quite a long time now. It is no secret that you probably, I was trying to find an exact stat for this and I couldn't calculate it yet, but I think you have spent the most amount of time in a Kansas football uniform, or at least up there amongst some of the longest tenure guys. You know, obviously you got that benefit of the COVID year, extra year, and being a 6-year senior coming back. So I kind of want to just start there. You know, now that your time is up officially as a member of the team, you know, what's kind of been the process like for you the last several weeks, months? You know, what's the thoughts been going through your mind as you kind of reflect back and seeing this one chapter of your life coming to an end?
Yeah. So next steps and kind of what I'm doing now is I just got done with the pro day a couple of weeks ago now, and been training for that since January. And right now is just kind of a dead period of just kind of waiting for the draft to see what will shake out. Kind of looking at free agency will probably be where I go, but if anything comes out of that, who's to say? I'm not sure. Hopefully, obviously, I'm very hopeful, but we'll find out. But it's also given me a lot of time to reflect on the past season, and obviously the guys just had their spring game last week, and so I've been popping in every so often to the practices, and I was still training up at their facility. So it's been great. It's been really been good to reflect on the fact that even them getting the package for a new weight room and locker room, just really seeing the impact that 6 wins can have in this community. Obviously, people are really have been for a while pulling for a winning season, and it's just incredible to see just the immediate response from fans and their dedication to the program. And I'm sure as the years come, they'll start to revamp even better things. So it's been a pleasure to be a part of that first season, kind of getting KU back to where it should be. Obviously, that's why I stayed for so long, and obviously opportunities came up, but it just never really felt like I could leave it better than I found it until last season. And so it was really a good pleasure of mine to be able to stay for the last one.
You've had quite the kind of wild ride in your tenure here. You know, said you've seen several coaching staff changes. You've seen a lot of players coming in, coming out, had some injuries you've had to deal with. Just overall, those 6 years total, what do you think are some of your biggest takeaways you've had during that time, or mostly going through this last year? You know, what drove you to come back and finish out the way you guys did? Finally, you know, for us with KU football, this was a quite successful season. It's just the start of what's coming. But just kind of take me back this last year. What are some of those big moments and key things from this last year that kind of drove you to come back and kind of finish out what you guys did on a strong note?
Yeah. Firstly, it was honestly quite a blessing that I had broken my arm at the beginning of the 2021 season. That obviously spurred some recovery time, and then because I never took a red shirt my freshman year, I was also in special teams. the coaches came up to me and said that I still had it, obviously. And so, yeah, so it was just while I thought I would have wanted to be done in 2021, I'm glad that I stayed around. And just, the reason why God blessed me with an amazing opportunity to stay. And I really saw the amazing work that Leipold and his staff were doing. Um, and I knew that it would be a challenge to completely flip the narrative in the first year and to be able to stick around for another year and be a part of that change was really big for me and really exciting. And so that's kind of how I went through that mentally, of just like understanding how, being in meetings, obviously seeing the culture that they wanted to instill, and knowing that next year would be even better than it was. So that was kind of my process for wanting to come back.
Do you feel like it paid off?
For sure.
So before we reflect back on the season more in detail, I want to touch on your pro day. For fans haven't seen the video going around, I'll drop a link in this later, but had quite the impressive bench press going on there. And I was doing a little bit of research on the draft combine, and even though it wasn't an official combine record or recording of it, you finished with 30 bench press push in that, which would have finished second in the combine. The top guy was a Michigan defensive tackle at 34. So clearly there's some strength on that body. And I've had the pleasure just the last several years watching you develop, and I've seen you put on a lot of muscle mass, especially under this new coaching regime we have, and just seeing the strength and conditioning just improve. But walk me through the pro day. What was that like for you finally getting to experience that and kind of showcase a little bit of your ability? And what was that experience like in general?
Yeah, pro day went really well. The coaching staff, Coach Eric, under Coach Sleep's staff, but coached us for 11 weeks. Really detailed. They did a really good job with prepping us for pro day, because when we came to pro day, it really felt easy. In the sense of like, I wasn't really anxious or stressed about any of them because we'd done them 1,000 times. So, yeah, and in terms of the bench press, it was really fulfilling to get that, because that was kind of my goal from the beginning. And so, yeah, to hit that was really, I was really happy with that.
Is 30 your top? Is that the most you've done, or can you push past that, you think?
I mean, I feel like with more training, I could push past that, but it's not really necessarily. I'm never going to really do the test again.
Yeah.
So there really would be kind of no point. But yeah, I think either way, I think I could push past it. But in terms of the other things, pro day went really well, went really smooth, and I just attribute that to the great job that Coach Eric did training us. Yeah, I had really good numbers for me, and the 40 and the 5-10-5 and all of that kind of stuff, and the drills themselves went really well. So yeah, I'm super happy with pro day, and I think all around we did a great job of it for the ones who trained here.
So what are some things you learned during that process of pro day that'll kind of set you up for either some further development over the next few weeks, or either any mechanical things you're switching up, or what are some things you learned from that to help you prepare for those next steps, any potential workouts you get, other combine feature things down the road that you may get invited to? What did you learn from this experience you think will set you up for those next opportunities?
Yeah. Question. I think just the value in preparation, because like I said, like we had prepared so much that when I came to pro day, it really just felt natural. And I think that sometimes where you can get like stressed out and anxious about a performance is when you really just haven't prepared enough for it. And I think that was a big lesson for me of like, and sometimes they're different, like things you get more time to prepare than others. But I think putting in the work to prepare to the best of your abilities is super advantageous, because on the day you just feel confident in what you're doing and not, nervous or anything like that. So, in terms of, moving on to the next step, you look at camps or anything like that you can find it too. I'm just trying to prepare myself the best that I can for those camps, sticking with my training for for doing drills and position work is super important, and trying to stay active mentally with watching film and all of that kind of stuff is super important to make a good impression, not feel nervous about the opportunity.
So from the pros perspective, are there any guys any current active players in the league right now you've kind of tried to mold your game after a little bit or take bits and pieces of that you're trying to emulate in your own play style?
Um, it's kind of hard to say. But at the pro day I did switched over. I did O line and D line. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so for O line, I mean, the best example that I watch is just Jason Kelsey and how he moves and moves so efficiently at center. He's obviously very smart at what he does, and so that's who I watch a lot, just film wise, for O line. D line, I kind of just watch whoever has a four down front, and I just like watching D line, and we'll just watch the games all day long. But I guess no one really specifically for D line, but in terms of I had to really make an effort to do a position change, and Jason Kelsey I think is the best at what he does, and so that's really who I watch a lot.
So that's interesting you bring up the potential switch to O-line. I don't think that's really anything KU fans have probably heard of or heard talked about from you. Is that something that looks like it could be a strong possibility for some of your future opportunities?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you look at a place where I am in kind of free agency, I want to make myself obviously as marketable as possible, and so having O line and D line open is very advantageous for a guy in my position, and I've been working on it for a couple months now specifically, and it's gone really well. And yeah, the feedback I've gotten, especially from the pro day, is scouts really like when people are able to snap and move. And so I've been training for guard and center, but center is really where they, I guess, some really positive feedback. So yeah, so we're gonna see how it goes and get down the road. But yeah, I feel really good about it. But
So obviously playing defensive tackle all the time, you have a very close up personal view of the center and you're working to get past the center. What about playing defensive tackle has helped you with that process of seeing things from the other side of the ball now and preventing guys like yourself from getting in your face and getting back to the quarterback?
yeah, I mean, I've been coached by some really amazing coaches in D line, and so I would say that I feel pretty confident in how they're looking to get past an offensive lineman. And so, having that knowledge in the way that I watch film or in the way that I'm reading the guy across from me before the ball snapped is super advantageous for me because I know what I do, he's going to feed off of. And so I can kind of manipulate what I do to get a reaction out of our defensive lineman because I know generally what they're thinking and how they're trying to respond to the things that I do. So yeah, it's super helpful to see the game from another perspective. And then seeing the side from the offensive line has also helped my defensive line understanding as well. So it's been really advantageous just all around for me.
Yeah, versatility is definitely something that the next level is always looking for. It's not uncommon to see a lot of position changes in guys. We don't often see as many guys that go from defensive line to the offensive line, but because of
Yeah.
that experience on the D line play, it's got to be. I wouldn't say an easy transition by any means, but it definitely should play to your favor, being able to understand what the guy across from you's been doing because that's what he's been doing for a very long time. Let's go back to the season. Obviously this last year was a very successful year in the bigger picture of KU football. Coming into the year, like there is every year with KU fans, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of hope and optimism. Some years that optimism carries on and we actually see some quality performances and see some building upon it. And then other years, it kind of fizzles out. But this year, there was a lot of excitement coming into the second year of the Leipold era. And even though nationally there wasn't a lot of talk and love for the program, I think we were still slotted at like 2.5 wins coming into the year. Obviously, you guys crushed that. real quick. Take me back to the beginning of the season, fall training camp, getting prepped for the season. What was the mentality like across the coaching staff and across the players as you guys were preparing for year two and getting excited to roll out a new team, a new look that's had a year now to develop under a new coaching staff and show the fans that, hey, even though we're still far from where we want to be, there's a lot of excitement this year that you guys don't want to miss out.
Yeah. I mean, I would take it back all the way to when Coach Leipold got there. Obviously, they brought in with just a completely different message than any of us had heard before, in regards to culture and the way that they do things, very precisely, very thought out, and no really wiggle room for interpretation. And I think that was so good for us. But I think in the first year, you saw a lot of growing pains and the way that we didn't even have like a full spring with their staff before we started the first season. So I think in the first season, like I said, just a lot of growing pains, a lot of um, I would say resistance to what they were bringing in, just because. I mean, and me personally, I've been there for 4 years prior to them stepping foot on campus, and so like I said, what they were preaching is just so much different than what we've heard, and so you're just talking about changing a whole mindset of like 100+ guys on a team, and it's very difficult for a program like we have been, which is a lot of instability and people trying to work for themselves and trying to change that whole mindset and work as a team is just hard for some people. And so, first season, I think we figured that out. Obviously didn't go the way that any of us really wanted it to go. Other than some winning against Texas and some other things, but then yeah. So moving towards the next season, I think it started in that first lift back from winter break and just having the mindset of like, last season gone, we're going to learn the lessons that we need to, and put those forward for how we do things in the future. But overall, the message isn't going to change. And I think that was big for guys, that the message didn't change at all. It was still the same culture. It was still the same everything. Nothing changed, and that was huge for us because of just a culture of so much instability where coaches may say one thing one day and another thing another day, and having the message and the culture never changing was huge for us. And so building upon that in the spring and summer was amazing, and then obviously you get to put that in practice in fall camp. And I think coming into the season, obviously so much excitement for us as a player, and just really wondering how good we actually are, I think was big, because obviously they did a really good job recruiting through the transfer portal. And so we had a lot of new faces in there who added right away, which is great. Incorporating them to the culture was huge. And yeah, I think just into fall camp, we're like, well, we've done a lot of the work. We really just have to see where we are. I think those first 5 games we figured out, we are better than I think that a lot of us thought we would be. But then, towards the end, I think we got a little far away from who we knew we could be and who we actually were. And I think that is just how they're going to improve next season. Obviously, we couldn't get it done all the way last season, and a little bit of that's on me because I'm part of the leadership of last season. But they're going to be so much better this season when they keep ironing things out that we fell short on in the previous season.
So you guys get off to that hot start, 5-0. One of the national headlines in college football. Everyone's talking KU's going to get ranked. Could they host College Game Day at some point? How long can they keep the magic going? All this excitement buzzing around. The fans are showing up. I want to know from your perspective, growing up in Kansas, you've probably seen many KU games over your lifetime. You've probably been to games where there was huge turnout, and you've been to plenty of games where there hasn't been turnout. And then even just in your 6-year stretch, you've probably seen stadiums that are incredibly empty. But then to come into a home game to a sellout crowd with all the excitement and buzz in the atmosphere, and everyone talking about KU football. What was that like coming out of the tunnel, seeing that crowd completely full, 100% there to support you guys and be along for the ride? What was that like?
It was awesome. It was truly a dream come true to me. Um, yeah, being here for so long and finally getting to see a glimpse of that this season was really rewarding for me, and just and I've just taken it as just a reward for faithfulness in the program. You know, I believe that God brought me back for another reason this final season, and that faith is super personal to me, um, and I believe that God doesn't guarantee success in football programs, but He does honor faithfulness, I believe, and so just sticking around for another season and trying to work out all things for Him was super big, and just seeing that was just a little I guess reward for the faithfulness that I hope that I've shown to the program, and obviously to God and what He has for my life. But yeah, it was. I mean, I teared up. It was great. It was awesome. And yeah, Jayhawk fans were just waiting for something to really believe in, to buy in, and I think you're seeing that now. Like I said, with all the renovations that the stadium is undergoing currently and will in the future, and yeah, it's just the guys who are there now and will come. It's going to be great for them.
And that fan turnout didn't stop there. It kept going. We saw in the next several home games still sellouts or close to sellouts. The excitement was still there. So I want to jump forward to the next big moment. How did the moment of clinching bowl eligibility and being able to run down on the field with the fans, how did that compare to just walking in the first time to a completely packed out stadium, or even walking into college game day setting? Of those moments, which one do you think stood out the most to you and had the most emotional impact on yourself and the team around you?
Yeah, all great moments. College game day was so exciting, and that game was a really good game. It's one of those like oh, I wish we could have done this, and that different, but they were the better team, but it was an amazing game and amazing time to be there. Either way, but yeah, clinching the bowl game for me was definitely a highlight of the season, and probably the highlight of the season. Obviously, that had been a goal for me for years and was never really attainable until this season. And going 5 off the bat hot, it's like, man, obviously you want to win more than just one more, but we just need one more. and and so finally getting that last win felt so good. And again, just it just felt like such a nice reward for the faithfulness that I hope I've shown to the program, of just sticking through it and not leaving when I could have, not leaving or even being done when I could have, because I was married and all of that, and could have easily just left and gone on with my life. But yeah, just wanted to see it through to the end, and getting that bowl win was a huge moment for me in that aspect.
So let's jump forward to that bowl game for a moment. You guys find out not only you're bowl eligible, you finally find out your opponent. It wasn't Mizzou like a lot of KU fans were maybe hoping it could have been, just to see the rivalry come back again. And we'll not get into the antics of why or why not that didn't happen. But you guys going to play Arkansas, who the second that game broke, I was talking with a couple of the guys that do the podcast with me, and we were like, man, this is a tough matchup on paper. A lot of things that they do well are things that you guys also do well offensively. So you see a lot of that in practice. But at the same time, they had a different kind of guy at quarterback, just the pure size he had, the ability to break tackles, dynamic weapons on offense, incredible running back, good receiving core. When you guys saw that matchup, what was kind of the first preparation for, in practice, like for you guys to mentally prepare for a team that on paper was going to be a really tough matchup at some of these key positions?
Yeah. I think for us, when we look at any opponent, whether it be Texas or Arkansas or Oklahoma or TCU, who are all obviously really good team. A lot of it just comes back to focusing on ourselves first and trying to iron out all of our deficiencies so we can put forth our best version of ourselves in the game. And I think for us, that stemmed a lot down to, at least on the defensive side, stemmed a lot down to tackling and just how we tackle. And so we spent a lot of time ironing that out at the end of the season. And then from there, then obviously we focus on the opponent. And obviously, like you said, like they have really good quarterback, a lot of great assets all around. And so so first we just, pick apart their scheme and try to figure it out as much as possible, try to get ahead and try to help us to kind of mentally prepare for the scheme that we're going to see. And for the most part, it was very similar to anything we've seen before. So obviously, it wasn't too much different. But yeah, so then you just prepare for the players after that and try to. Obviously, we don't have a lot of super huge quarterbacks on our scout team, so
you're not oftentimes going up against a 6'6", 270 guy.
Yeah, so I mean that's just for anyone. But yeah, so he played really well. Obviously, that was something you can't really practice necessarily, but obviously it worked great for them. But yeah, no, it was. I think First off, I think we just try to focus on ourselves and try to, just instill our culture into the things that we do if we're getting off track.
Now that game was very high entertainment, high octane offense. Obviously first half, Arkansas got the best of us early and kind of jumped out to a big lead. It looked like for a while the defense, you guys weren't coming up with any answers to do anything to slow them down. And then towards the end of that first half, things started to click here and there. Second half, I think you guys came out and played incredibly physical and really shrunk the gap offensively, put the pressure on. And, unfortunately, Arkansas still pulls it out at the end. And I remember sitting here on my couch watching the game going, oh my gosh, we finally get to a bowl game. And, now it's over in the first 15 minutes. And then slowly by slowly, you guys keep fighting, not giving up, keep coming back, and make one of the most entertaining second halves of college football I've seen. What was the energy level and the passion and the emotion like going back and forth there at the end of that game? And every time they go up, you guys answer immediately, and then you get a stop, but then they come back and answer. What was that like coming down the stretch? And then, of course, unfortunately, seeing the game in the other team's favor, but just going through that process as a team and knowing you guys can at least get to that level and are capable of performing at a high level. Kind of what was that end of the game like, amongst the team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the game didn't end how we wanted it to end, but I think a bigger lesson, maybe a little silver lining, even though we try not to do moral victories, but being able to, that is like the culture that they preach and that they brought in, that we've adopted as a team is like, one of our core values is to be relentless, and the definition they provided for that is to straight to finish. And so, so the fact that we were down by, I don't know how much it was in the first half, and to be able to slowly climb back and put ourselves in a position to be able to win the game at the end. And could have, if a couple things had gone differently, was super huge for the team, super huge for the program. And I think people realize that like fans and everything realize that at the end of the game too, is like, not only was it amazing that we were able to go to a bowl game in the second year of Leipold, but it's also amazing that we were able to be down against a high-level opponent by double digits and be able to slowly work our way back to a position of winning the game at the end. And obviously, you don't want to be down by that much. So let's start there. But to be able to have a team that has a mindset that we aren't going to let anything outside phase what we're doing, and to get back to our roots and play the game that we know how to play and get back to a position to win the game is truly incredible for a program like Kansas, who has just struggled for years and years and years. And I think is a silver lining worth taking out of that bowl game, and obviously something that they will use next year to fight for even better bowl games. But yeah, just saying that we as a team held true to our values in the game, and that was the I guess the X factor in being able to come back in that game was amazing to see. And like I said, something that I think for the most part people saw all season, but we'll definitely see a lot more next season.
Yeah, I think from the fans' perspective, seeing you guys fight and claw back, I think gave us a lot of hope and continued confidence that the program is on the right track. Because a typical Kansas team that we're used to seeing the last 10 years, you guys go down double digits early, there's nothing coming. There's no fight coming back. There's more mistakes coming down the road, and that we see that lead grow. So I think from the fans' perspective, seeing you guys fight and claw back and basically have it right there within grasp, I think gives everyone in KU Nation a taste of what is to come still. And I think not only for the fans, but I think leaves the players behind you coming up next even hungrier to continue driving that. And I like that you kind of touched on the culture, and culture is one of those big words everybody always throws around about teams. Doesn't matter how much talent or ability you have, if you don't have a strong culture, your team is not going to accomplish a lot. So I want to kind of touch on that culture for a moment, because I think it's very evident how much that has grown in the 2 years Leipold's been here. And obviously you've been through 3 different coaching staffs here. You've heard and talked about culture in many different perspectives across those different coaching staffs. What is different about the way Leipold and his crew does things to breed the culture? Like me, I had the benefit having a little bit of an inside look at you guys, 2 years ago during that first year, doing some of the caterings in the morning for breakfast and seeing you guys bright and early in the morning. And I think even though I'm not seeing you guys in pads and doing all the practice, just seeing the way you guys contained yourselves, the way you spoke to each other, the way you showed up disciplined in the morning, getting your weigh-ins done, learning that what you're eating, how it's going to impact the body, and just all the information you guys get from a sports performance standpoint. So I was able to see some of that early on, and I knew that eventually that was going to translate on the field. But what is different about this crew, and why is it working quicker than what fans were hoping to see with coaches past?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just more complete than any other coaches that I've been with. And there's more buy-in just all around from coaches down. I think maybe in past coaching staffs, it's they try to implement some type of culture, but didn't really trickle down maybe the way that they had hoped, and so it didn't really just get accepted by players. But and not to say that like Leipold forced their culture on us, but they kind of did, obviously, and that's why it's worked so well. Is truly saying like this is the way to win, and we're going to do it no matter what, and not backing down on anything is super important, especially for a team like us. That obviously when Leipold and the staff came in, they knew there were going to be some resistance and some people who would not want to do it the way that they're going to do it, and either they work those things out or they both parted ways. So I think that is probably just why, like, when I just talk about complete, I'm talking like top to bottom, like the way that we do things, the way that we eat breakfast. We have check-ins every morning where we eat your vitamins, weigh in, and we have all these lists that you have to check off. So you're super detailed all the time. And there's a point system awarded to everything, to where obviously there's some incentive to do the right thing all the time. And that's just what you're looking at, is like, do we do the right thing all the time according to the standard that we've set before us? And that is just night and day different than any other staff we've had over there. Just more thought out, already came in with the game plan. Obviously, Leipold has proven that his system works at every level of college football, which is very reassuring. And knowing that when he came in was, I think, reassuring for all of us. And now, having a 16 season, going to a bowl game, I think people are obviously starting to realize that he can gain national recognition for the fact that he's an amazing coach. He has amazing ideas, and He comes forth with amazing culture building style. But yeah, I think just top to bottom, just a more detailed team that the coaches, and now obviously we're working at players because great teams are player led, and so now the players will start to take over that accountability. So there is no wiggle room. If the team is doing something one way, there's no way to do it any other way. And so, and I think that's the biggest thing is now we are starting to move to, I guess they are starting to move to a player-led program where it's not just the coaches pushing these things at us, but now the players have adopted them to become like part of themselves, and now they are the ones that are leading and coaching and all of that. So.
So Leipold's getting a lot of recognition nationally now, and rightfully so for the program, the direction it's going, the building of it. But there's one guy in particular I wanted to ask you about because I think he goes a little under the radar, not just nationally, but even with the fan base, as far as helping being a key component to driving the culture, and that's Coach Gildersleeve. I don't think I have ever been around a guy that is as fired up, energetic, passionate as he is at 4:30 in the morning as he is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon prepping for a game. This guy comes with insane amount of energy, discipline, accountability. He's energetic, he's friendly, he's passionate. He's always engaged with you guys. How much do you think he plays a factor into the the culture you guys are building? Because to me, just watching you guys here and there, I never saw guys that were very turned off to him, even though, for them, they might be exhausted that early in the morning, have no energy, but he's fired up, ready to go. He's pushing you guys. He's motivating you. He's sharing information with you. Obviously, the program he was putting into effect with you guys from a strength and conditioning perspective was working because you guys drastically improved, in all these smaller metrics, like body fat percentage, muscle gain, all that area. You guys have grown a lot in the last 2 years. But just talk to me a little bit about Coach Gildersleeve, what he means to the program, and what it's like, being around him every day.
Yeah, Coach Gildersleeve is amazing, and like you said, like along with Coach Leipold, he should really get a lot of national recognition for the amazing job that he's doing. Because and both of them obviously have worked together for a while, and they do an amazing job together. And but yeah, so like just from the start, like a player will spend so much more time with Coach Sleeve than he will with his position coach. And so like the off season when you're in the weight room, and the strength staff is really the training ground for what happens in the season. And that was a huge part of our development. Obviously, you saw um, strength and body type and all of that. Obviously, have improved a lot over the past 2 seasons while they've been here. However, also the culture buy-in, like that's where you practice practice what you preach. Like that's literally where you practice what these coaches are preaching to you. In terms of our core values, pride, relentless, and belief, and all of that, top down. That's where you practice a lot of that, and that's why he does such a good job because him and his Disciple are just in sync with each other, in the way that you go from the weight room to the practice field to the game field, and the way that you do things never changes. Like I said, yeah. So like from the weight room to the dining room to even when you're to the classroom, when you're at home, to the practice fields, to game fields, film rooms, like everything, how you do it is exactly the same. And I think Coach Sleeve does a great job of just being very relatable and not coming at it of a way of, like, I'm your superior, you have to listen to me. But when he came in and when Coach Leipold came in, but Sleeve especially because of just how much more time we spend with Sleeve than any other coach, just how much he took the time to try to get to know us individually. I think that is a huge thing now in kind of today's football and sports landscape is these players really want to be known before you kind of tell them what to do. We kind of have a saying that you can only push someone as much as they trust you. And so Steve did a great job of that, of coming in and really building trust with us. And that's why guys just respond to him so well, because he shows up obviously. The beginning steps is walking the walk, and Coach Steve walks the walk every single day, of what he talks about, and then seeing his energy and the way he goes about things is obviously so different from a lot of just regular football players and guys on the team. And so seeing that and seeing the way he goes about each and every day, each and every situation, and trying to respond similarly is important, is huge for guys. And just the way that he has taken the time to get to know them and push them along has gotten a great response from the team.
Yeah, no doubt whatever the coaching staff is doing is clearly working. I think just in the last 2 years, you've seen, not that we didn't have talent to begin with, but I think recruiting out here is tougher than some other places. And so you really have to rely a lot on development. And I think I saw quite a few handful of guys that came in maybe a little undersized or a little flabby, a little chubby. And now the last 2 years, I mean, you guys as a full squad, most everybody looks like they belong where they are. They're developing into, highly toned, muscle efficient bodies. You guys look like true D1 athletes, which obviously is translating into the field with talent ability. So a lot of credit to be given there. Well, as we're kind of wrapping up here, just a couple things I want to go over with you. Obviously this last year as a senior, super senior, you were being one of the oldest guys on the team. And I know I was listening to a couple of other interviews you had where you're talking about, I'm sometimes the dad of the group, or people have called me a grandpa or the uncle, being one of the older guys on the team. But in all seriousness, being the older guy, you felt a high calling to leadership. And I know that was one thing you talked about being of incredible importance to you, coming back for that extra year with some things left unfulfilled on the table. First off, what was it like to be voted on by your team to be one of those senior leaders this year, and what kind of impact do you think you delivered, of course, the full season in that role?
Yeah. I think that, and what we talk about a lot with Coach Sleeve, is that leadership is responsibility. So not something that I or anyone should take lightly. And so yeah, to be voted into that role is a huge honor, and it was really a blessing. And yeah, throughout the season, I just tried to do the best that I could to, guide guys into the culture that we are, and try to get them to buy into that. Is probably the biggest role that any in-season or off-season captain could have. And then, obviously from that stems building trust, and from that stems accountability, and obviously leading by example. But I think most importantly is building relationships within the team, because guys, and I've seen it like in past teams, like guys just have their friends, and that's fine. But as a team, we should be seeking to really know each and every person individually. And obviously that starts with any captain, and because like I said, the way you push people is how much trust that they have in you. And so if I never try to build that trust, then I can never push anyone. So that's hugely important to me. And yeah, huge honor. I really enjoyed being able to be a captain this last season. Obviously, it was a lot of fun, and but also a lot of, like I said, responsibility. And Coach Lee does such a great job with building leaders. And they started this season like we would have a leader meeting every week, but also with this off season, they've started doing leadership 101. So like in a sense, training sessions to become better leaders. And for those guys, it's going to be so much better. And something that Coach Steve helped me with is, in any situation where things might be awkward or whatever, really comfortable with it. Leadership is just like anything. He said exactly, leadership is kind of like, is kind of like training power clean, right? Like, or any other lift. If I don't take reps at it, I'm never going to really get better at it. And so that really helped me, is the more reps I take, the better I get. And so really put myself out there, being uncomfortable was huge for me, and something I will take into the regular world once I'm done with football. But yeah, so these guys are just getting such a great opportunity to really buy in and really get a really intense taste of what leadership is that they can take to the regular world and just really thrive in.
So you played with a very experienced D line this last year. You guys had a lot of upperclassmen, and a lot of you guys are now departing the program and moving forward. You know, guys like Lonnie Phelps, who were hoping to hear his name called in a few weeks on draft day. You played with some other upperclassmen like Caleb Sampson, Malcolm Lee, just to name a few. Um, but there's still a couple of experienced guys coming back. Now that you guys are departing, who do you think that baton's going to kind of be passed to? Not just from a senior leadership position amongst the team, but specifically in that D line group, who are some guys on there that you think maybe fans haven't seen enough of or should start focusing in on that could kind of take that next step up to fill some of the roles that are being left behind by those of you departing?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see who will step up in the season. Right in the off season, there's always a lot of competition to make your voice heard. So it'll be interesting who really steps up next season. But obviously, we have a lot of great guys in the D line room. I know that one of the transfers they brought in, Devin Phelps, is super talented. I've been watching him a little bit during the spring season, and he looks really good, really complete. And obviously, Tommy Dunn and DJ are my guys, and so I think they're going to have a really good season this season. And I can already tell Tommy is going to be a really great asset for this D line as he continues to get older and mature and just enhance his skills. He's going to be a really good leader for the D line, and I think someone that people don't hear a lot from is a guy, Caleb Taylor. He provides a lot of depth and wisdom on the D line. May not, but at least he tries not to be someone who talks a lot, but someone who will walk the walk and hold others accountable, and is super talented himself and super athletic. So I would say those guys are probably be the guys to look for next season for leadership and talent and taking over the D line. And I'm really excited to watch them. Obviously, I was there at the spring game, and I'm just watching them, and for the most part, and just seeing what they do because I've spent so much time with them, invested so much time in them, and really excited to see what they do on their own this season.
So now that you're crossing back into the fan side of KU, now as an alumni and no longer playing on the field, what do you think it's going to be like for you going back and watching just as a fan? What are some things you hope to see as this program continues to develop? What do we think the 2024 season potentially has in store for us?
Yeah, I hope to see that that they approach each game with the same resolve and the same determination that they had in the first 2 years, and just obviously apply it more and more to more and more athletic guys. I think you'll see that obviously as we have success, it'll be easier to get but easier to get recruits in, and obviously like you'll just be recruiting better and better guys. And so moving forward, it's going to be exciting to really see how KU football, and in my opinion, what I'm hoping for, takes off. For this season, they have a great schedule that will line them up, hopefully, with a really good, even better season than last season. So I'm really excited to watch that. Obviously, I'm a D-line guy, like I just said, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how guys who I've been with for years perform, and just seeing how they take over that D-line and stop the run and get some sacks and get some personal success for themselves. And obviously, besides that, really looking forward to just the whole thing, really. Just really, it'll be sweet in the first couple years, first 2-3 years where I'm a fan. Just all those guys who I tried to pour into so much, and just hopefully getting to see their individual and team success will be super rewarding. And yeah, just my heart goes out to all of them because I've been there for so long that I know each and every one of them really well, and so it's going to be really cool to see their success this coming season.
So as we close your chapter as a player and we open up that next chapter of Sam's book of life to see what comes next, I know we talked a little bit about preparing for any free agency opportunities you might get. You're finished up with school, you've been married a couple years now, wife and you have learned how to push through the final years of school and through a full-time job of football while being married and the difficulty that can bring. Obviously, as much of the dream is to continue playing and continue to get to the next level, no matter where you are in your stage as an athlete, the playing time comes to an end at some point. So if opportunities don't go how you hope they do, or you don't get that next opportunity to lace them up again, what do you think life looks like for you post football?
Yeah. I think we'll hang around here for a couple of years. My wife got a job in ministry at a church, and so we're probably going to be here for a couple of years. But for me personally, I got my degree in environmental studies and conservation, so I'll be looking for opportunities around here a couple of years, and then after that, I'm kind of open to going wherever if nothing works out football wise. Really looking forward to broadening our horizons and going wherever God takes us. And one thing I am really looking forward to, I'll go as long as football takes me. But whenever it gets done, I'm going to lose some weight, and I'm really excited.
I think that's what a lot of you guys say. Once you get done where you're not in the gym 24/7 or you're not trying to compete at high level anymore, just the physical toll and stress, you can kind of start to unload and kind of ease back.
Yeah.
Because obviously, since you've gotten to KU over your 6 years, you've put on about 50 pounds of muscle mass over the years, and it's hard to maintain that at such a high level and keep it going. So yeah, I'm sure that'll be if football does not continue going how it's been, then being able to transition and kind of reshape your body again for what's next. So well, as we close out here, Sam, it's been a real pleasure to have you on. I'm very grateful to have you on here. You're my first athlete guest on my podcast, so just super excited to take the time to sit here and just kind of chat with you about life and how your time at KU was. So as you reflect back, what are some of your final thoughts? If you went all the way back to freshman year, Sam, walking on campus as a walk-on, is there anything you would go back, do differently, anything advice-wise you would go back to tell him, or advice that you would give to any incoming freshmen that might be coming into a position similar to yourself?
Yeah. I would say first and foremost, I would say what helped me tremendously was finding faith in Jesus. And I know everyone has a different path, but for me, to be able to have a faith and hold on that God would provide for me in any situation, and ultimately that my faith was way bigger than football could ever be. Football was just what I did; it wasn't who I was. And obviously, it took me a while to figure that out, but I would say that find your faith. Jesus is worth more than any football award or anything that this life could offer. But within that, I found, like I just said, that football is just what I do. It's not who I am. And so when you can separate that for yourself, it allows you to play a lot more free. That's something I wish I could have figured out before or earlier in my career. I think another thing is don't be afraid to stick with it. There's a lot of challenges in life, and not everything is just super easy. You may not even really get as much of a reward as you hope it would be. But as you look at my season, I had 5 years of just grilling seasons. So I think there was 7 or 9 wins in 5 years, and which obviously in any stat is not very good, and wouldn't really be deemed successful. But those 5 years were so developmental for me, character-wise, and just like anything, they just refined my character just so much, and it helped me to really lean in on my faith for guidance and stability. So everything won't be, roses and sunshine, and you're going to go through some hard times, but don't be afraid to lean into those because because they'll be worth it in the end. Other than that, don't be afraid to work hard. Don't be afraid in working hard. Don't be afraid to rest too. Something I figured out late in my career is the value in taking time to rest, and finding the balance between working really hard, but also taking time to rest and take care of myself so that I can keep working hard. But yeah, I think other than that, I have no regrets. I'm good.
Good. Well, for the fans that want to continue following you and see what potential next steps come for you in regards to football, what's the best way for them to kind of keep up with what's coming next for you?
I'd probably say either if they keep up with me, probably on Twitter and Instagram is probably the thing I'm on most. I try not to be on them too much, but obviously I update every once in a while, and that's probably where they can find the most updates. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Sam, again, it's been a pleasure. I hope, down the road as you kind of figure out next steps, as football continues, maybe we can jump back on and kind of catch up again and kind of update your situation. But on behalf of myself, the podcast, our listeners, and all of Jayhawk Nation, thank you again so much for taking the time today. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to sharing this with all the Jayhawk Nation here soon. So again, Sam, thanks for joining me today.
Much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
That was now former KU football defensive tackle Sam Burt on the podcast. I had a lot of fun chatting with him and super grateful that he took the time to join me today. We wish Sam the best of luck in his journey moving forward in the next couple weeks as he prepares for the NFL draft and NFL free agency. And hopefully, Jayhawk fans, we can see him on a field in the fall later this year. And thank you, the listeners, for tuning into this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. And I hope this is just the start of future athlete guests I will have on the podcast. And in order for me to do that, your support is absolutely crucial. So please, whether you're catching us over on YouTube or listening on Spotify, take a moment right now, hit that subscribe button, share that link with a couple of your friends. Don't forget to go over on Twitter and follow us there at KCSA Pod, as well as on Facebook at KC Sports Authority. As our following grows and the support starts flowing in more and more, I'll be able to book some more guests for future episodes. In the meantime, thanks again for listening, and I hope to catch you guys in the next episode.